Stepping out of the elevator, Simone staggers out, pressing her fleshy arm tightly against her abdomen to help the suit keep her fluids and organs in. As the map predicted, it's a Labasum fashion. From the scattered mess of everything, Simone figures it had just been evacuated. Datapads, components, gear and whatnot are all over the place, though Simone doesn't care whether she hears something break under her boots as she moves along. That is, until she turns a corner and sees the sight out of some shitty old sci-fi movie. There's liquid-filled tanks with partially formed people within them. In some cases, they're simply suspended brains with their stems. However, as she moves along this horror show, a certain individual catches her eye. Coming to a stop, she looks up at a furless Terran with translucent skin and half-formed muscles. "Oh, damn. Never thought I'd see your bitch face again," she mumbles up at the visage of coal. Moving around the tank, she eyes bunches of perfectly organized cords and cables. Raising an eye tuft, she activates her crystal blade and slashes them all with ease. As sparks and fluids fly free, she circles back around to pass up the unconscious man as he is violently forced awake in his unfinished state. His eyes lock onto Simone for only a few seconds before he attempts to scream in rage. The redhead watches him thrash helplessly as his organs all immediately start to fail him before flipping him off as she continues on towards her wife's location. "Yeah, no. Ain't dealing with you a second time," she says in a tired tone, just after he passes on for a third and final time. About halfway through the lab, she hears a pop of a seal and a rush of fluid. Picking up her pace as fast as she can, she rounds another corner to a secluded section of this place to spot a naked female Manarian crawling and coughing from an open tank. "Huh. Guess they followed through with that body, huh? You alright, Shara?" Simone grunts as she approaches. The Manarian freezes up on her hands and knees for a moment, but then quickly nods. "It appears so. How strange. That device they put on your head must have linked me to this body. Fools." The female Manarian chuckles as she attempts to get up on the slick floor. "Here," Simone offers with a blooded hand. The Manarian looks up at the redhead. It seems that Shara's DNA was saved for the use of creating this clone, seen as it's a youthful identical match. Her expression shifts to cautious skepticism. "You offer your help. I did encode a whole galaxy. How am I to be certain you won't run me through the moment I turn my back?" the Manarian points out. "You know that's not my style," Simone chuckles with a kind smile and wink. Looking at the hand, the Manarian slowly accepts it and smiles back almost bashfully. "I swear on my pup, I'll make up for all that I've done," she says, as Simone helps her into a standing position. Before suddenly, the redhead runs her crystal blade straight through the Manarian's fur-covered chest. The Manarian's red and gold eyes go wide as the hilt presses firmly against her. "Ember, you sly bitch," Simone utters in a hateful glare. "You never intended to hand over the body, did you? You were so close, except that your accent is way off. It sounds like your dead boy toy. Wrong generation, dumbass." The corner of Ember's W-shaped mouth perks up in developing mania, and she reaches a clawed hand up at Simone's face. Before she can so much as touch the redhead, she is casted off of the blade with a forceful push. The bat beam splashes back down into the pooling fluids, now joined by a spreading black-purple substance. Shaking her head, Simone leaves, just as the life fades from Ember's eyes. "What does it take for you fucks to stay dead?" Simone grumbles, under her rasping breath, before stepping into an exit hallway. Passing through the exit, it seems the recent excursion to put down her mother for a second time has a follow-up effect of lightheadedness. Nearly tripping over herself, Simone slams into the wall and holds onto it to prevent herself from falling over. Her brain starts to fog, but before she gets lost to it, she forces herself to move. One step at a time, with an arm leaning against a wall, she ventures where the map tells her to go, though it's hard to pay attention to details at this point. At some point, she picks up on something in the air. Sounds. Familiar sounds? Listening in as she shuffles along, the redhead finds herself smiling fondly at the sound of baseball bats cracking at thrown pitches, soon followed up by cheers of a small crowd. She swears she can almost hear her own father's voice in it, though something's not quite right. It feels like she's dreaming more than suffering in a walk towards danger. Perking up in a moment of half lucidity, she activates her lens and orders her suit to give her a larger dose of adrenaline. It warns against it, but long past caring about health warnings, Simone Hazley persists until it eventually concedes. She doesn't feel the injection, but after a few moments, she feels her heart begin to race heavily, and her brain fog starts to lift. The cracks of bats are suddenly recognizable as pulse rifle shots, and the cheering now are screeches of enraged Malite. "Chuck!" Simone utters with clarity, before hoofing at a rate she was incapable of doing seconds ago. Following the sounds through hallways and rooms, Simone eventually turns a final corner to see 4 female Malite trying to enter through a wrenched open door. "Chuck!" Simone cries out in a roar, before charging down this final passageway. All but the leading Malite turn to see the dashing wounded Terran heading their way. "The carrier's my meal. Take care of that other vermin," the lead instructs, before managing to finally scramble in, despite several connecting pulse shots. "Simone!" Chuck's voice screams back. Further fuel to dish up these 3 crabs before her, Simone activates Excalibur to its maximum output. "I'm gonna show you fucks what my people mean by going apeshit," the redhead shouts, as she meets up with the first charging Malite. In a sideways forward slash, she cuts right through the narrower midsection of the foe with ease. The second takes the Terran's momentum into account, stabbing down pincers to spear. However, Simone twists harshly, kicks a leg against the wall, and sends herself diagonally towards the other wall. Perfectly in her trajectory, the second crab gets a very similar treatment as the first, with its midsection being the separation point. Unfortunately, the third gets the initial upper claw. When Simone hammers against the wall, her back dreams out in sudden violent pain, that she is stunned for just long enough for the wizened crab to snap at the wrist holding the deadly sword, and yank her upwards to tear apart. Thinking quickly, Simone drops the sword, letting it fall behind her. In a small stroke of luck, she catches it with her other hand, and in a sloppy but fast motion she activates and stabs the blade directly into the third crustacean's flat face. In death, the claw's grip snugly holds onto Simone as the corpse falls back, causing Simone to ragdoll in an unintended suplex. Crashing back down, the redhead wheezes from the harsh impact to her spine and blacks out. Chuck stands atop a high stack of crates, far and away from the lone crab's reach. However, it's merely a time-buying strategy, as the Malite viciously grabs and throws crates in an effort to cause the temporary fortress to come crashing down. Shot after shot, Chuck's rifle appears to do little but piss off her enemy. Sure, cracks start to form in repeated areas, but by the time she suspects she can get through to soft flesh, she will be torn apart. Hearing the commotion outside the door initially gives her hope. Her wife has indeed come, and sounds as ferocious as ever. Yet, when all the sounds stop, and Simone doesn't run heroically through the door, is when Chuck realizes something has gone terribly wrong. "Simone!" she cries out, hoping to at least hear a response. There is none. The crate under her hoofs suddenly buckles, as the row in front of it comes crashing down. Looking down at her prized rifle, she knows it's not enough to vanquish this enemy. Unless... Taking a note out of Simone's handbook, Tshirt decides to pull a Hail Mary. As the crate under her finally gives way to gravity, she bounds far off to the side. Landing in a harsh sideways roll, she hurries back up and presses up against the far wall. The Malite, as expected, wastes no time to go straight for her. "Did I at least fight honorably?" Chuck asks, in a nervous chuckle. Hearing this, the Malite actually slows down its stride towards the Callie. "Yes, I say you surprised," she starts to reply, before Chuck raises her rifle, aims directly at the speaking mouth of her enemy, and pulls the trigger. Bzzz. The overused rifle buzzes in a negative response. There's an awkward pause, as they both figure out what just happened. "Of course," Chuck utters in despair, soon followed by her limbs suddenly seizing up against her will. "Crafty. Almost dishonorable, if you hadn't trapped yourself," the Malite screeches in a cruel snickering, before she resumes her approach, deciding to take her sweet time. Simone steps up to the plate, bat in hand. Although her dad's not at this game, she understands why he can't be. Work is a bitch. She still looks forward to telling him all about it later at dinner. No matter how tired he is, he's always happy to listen, especially for such an important game that's so tied up in the final moments. After her team struggled for so long to get decent, they now find themselves in the local championships. Winners get an epic pizza party, and there's no way she'll be the reason why they don't get it. The opposing player readies his pitch, and throws it with a gnarly curve. No problem. Crack! The loaded bases all book it, as does Simone. It's not a home run, but there just might be enough time. Out of her peripheral vision, as she approaches third base, she sees the ball being recovered and prepped to throw. Her leg muscles tense up in hesitation to stop. There's no way she's going to be able to make it now. There's just not enough time, and she's not fast enough. "Run home, Simone! Run home!" Robert's thunderous voice shocks Simone's eyes open. She can still hear it echoing around her, as the taste of blood floods her mouth. "Run home. Come on, Simone. Run home." The air in her lungs spill out with her lips. Pressing down, she feels as though every bit of her had been thrown in a wood chipper, but she pushes herself up and drags her legs under her body. "Run home. Final stretch," she huffs, as she somehow makes it to her feet, and even more miraculous, she starts to move forward. The world is a constant blur, but she can hear a Callie's shouts and the stamping of pointed chitin. There's a red blur getting closer, or more likely, she's getting closer to it. She knows what it is, and what it's gonna do if she doesn't stop it. "You can do it, kiddo. Almost," she hears the distinct memory scream out. Chuck screams out, as two pincers each playfully stab through her shoulders, to then drag her up the wall, leaving two mirroring blood streaks. "To honor your fight, I'll start with an end to your suffering," the Malite assures, as his maw opens up and orientates itself over the Callie's skull. With defeated grey eyes, Chuck's head is only filled with the sweetest memories of her life, so many of which have her cherished red-furred Terran starring in them. Simone's laugh, her crying, her peaceful slumbering face, the way she bit at her inner cheek and how beautiful her soul and body both are. Walking in that bar was the best decision she ever made, and now facing the end, no matter how grim it is, she has little regrets, and wouldn't trade her time with Simone for anything else the universe can throw at her. Suddenly, the looming, rotten breath of the Malite ceases. Then gravity finds Chuck, and welcomes her legs and rear to the solid floor. Dazed, Chuck stiffly looks ahead to see the Malite. Stepping away from her? No. The movements are too jolting. Blinking, the Callie finally sees two massive Terran arms gripping around the crab's midsection. "Simone!" she whispers in realization. Gritting her teeth against the powerful crustacean, the Terran squeezed her grip even tighter, causing distressed screeches to roar out of her foe. In retaliation, the Malite stabbed a pincer deep down into the redhead's back, who acted as though it had no effect, yet Chuck knows better. Seeing another claw rise up to stab down, the Callie fights against her numbness in a manner that feels like it tears at a few joints. She picks up her rifle and pulls the trigger, hoping enough time has passed for the pulse to actually fire. Thanking the star, it does. Striking the claw dead on, it thrashes away from the force, unable to commit to attacking the crushing squeeze of the Terran. Eyes flashing brightly, Chuck opens fire rapidly at the three remaining claws, and then concentrates right for the enemy's face. "Eat shit, you kiting bitch!" Chuck chirps out ferally, as she maintains her weapons fire. Blast after blast, the crab enters her feverish berserking rage to charge the Callie in maddening desire to cease the pulse shots. However, the Terran holds true. Mind blanking away everything else in the universe, she squeezes harder and tighter. Perhaps she would have accomplished this feat if her suit augments her strength enough. However, in service to keeping her injuries from becoming far worse, her suit strictly limits her output to safer levels. Yet as she musters more and more strength, the less and less the power armor grants, until she might as well not be wearing it. At least it can't stop her from her own strength, posing a threat to herself. Simone's internal physical limiter breaks, but she doesn't feel her muscles and tendons tear apart as she exerts more force than her body is capable of withstanding. She can't hear herself screaming out at the top of her lungs in sheer will to accomplish her goal. Then, like a blink of an eye or a flip of a switch, the squeezing against hard, dense material is suddenly met with wet internals. Breaking this crab bitch in half, Simone backed away a few steps, falling just milliseconds after the top half of the Malite comes crashing down. Convincing her legs to move again, Chuck moves up to the Malite, jams her rifle into the crab's maw, and gives it a final feast of the Callie's choice. Stepping around the Malite, Chuck feels a relieved giddiness rise with her. "Simone, we did it! We actually..." she starts to say, before seeing the motionless body of her love. Dashing to her, she uses her lens to view Simone's suit readings of the injuries. The severe internal bleeding, ruptured organs, and dangerously broken spine all say she can't even move her towards help. Oh no. No, she chirps with grey eyes. "Simone, please, hang on, okay? Help's on the way. I'm sure someone will... Maybe a medic can..." Her voice attempts to find any scrap of hope, but chokes up, finding none. Instead, she turns to her comms. "Anyone, please come to our location as soon as possible. Simone Thatch she's..." Chuck utters, afraid to even say it. "She needs urgent medical attention. Her back is broken and is bleeding so..." She stops, upon seeing Simone's face stir slightly, in response to her words. The redhead rasps in air, moves her lips. No words can be formed. Chuck drags herself closer, petting the redhead's head fur with a trembling lower limb, as she pressed down on the worst of the bleeding with her other arms. "Please, stay with me. I need you. Our children need you," she starts to plead, before noticing the very real fear in Simone's eyes. This isn't the time to be selfish. Her wife needs her at this moment too. No matter how hard it is to face, Chuck has to. For Simone. Clearing her throat softly, Chuck manages to smooth out the tender petting of Simone's head fur. "Hey love, you know what's funny? I walked into that bar thinking that we needed a Deathworlder, but I found you instead. Before I admitted my feelings for you, you've made me feel loved. In your arms, I've never felt more safe in a galaxy out to get me. You changed the course of not only my life, but everyone's. You are an incredible person, Simone Thatch, worth all the love the stars could possibly bestow, if not worth more. Simone's slowing emerald eyes find Chuck's as they softly light up. I'm here, Simone. I'm safe, and I'm not leaving you alone. I got you, forever and always, the Callie promises softly, before she gently kisses the Terran woman's forehead and lips. Then, as she felt the Terran's heartbeat slow to a complete stop, she did the only thing she could think to do for her love's final moments. Sing. You caught my eye from across the room, and I knew right then you were my muse. Your eyes lit up the darkest of nights, and I knew right then you were worth the fight. Your love, your touch, they make me feel alive. I'm drawn to you like air to a flame. I'll be your shelter, your rock, your guide. We'll take on the universe and no longer hide. Our love is a masterpiece, every moment from the start. We'll paint the town red, till one day I'll depart. We'll write our own story, a tale to be told. I may, but our love will never grow old. Simone looks up from a sitting position. She's on a bench. No, the bench. The one she used to meet with her dad on his work breaks. However, it's not up against a wall. There's just a void of black all around her. Well, that's quite a finale, Robert chuckles. Turning her gaze in a flash, Simone sees her dad casually sitting next to her. Without hesitation, she takes him up in a tight hug, causing his chuckle to break out into a Santa-like laughter. After a few moments of fighting it, Simone breaks out in a sobbing fit. This feels so real. She can feel Robert's gross, slightly sweat-damp workout shirt, and can smell his familiar dad smell on top of everything else. She can even feel him rubbing her back like he used to comfort her. You're really him? So this is it? Boring ass fucking afterlife. Simone laughed, before pulling away. Nah, kiddo. I'm not the cross spirit of your dad. Remember those random medical documentaries we used to binge? This is just your brain trying to make sense of things, comforting you in your final moments. Kinda neat, don't you think? Robert replies, as he pats Simone's back. But then this is it. I mean, I'm about to die, right? Simone questions. Robert shrugs. Maybe. I don't know. Not sure if I can. If you die, then I stop existing. Guess we're gonna have to find out together, he points out. I guess. Simone somberly sighs as she cleans her wet face with her hands. Dad? What's up, kiddo? How are you so perfect, being my dad? She asks. Raising his thick eye tufts upon his brow, Robert blew out some air. Well, kiddo, I'm your idolized dad. How you want to remember him. So I doubt I can give you details, but I think you are aware that despite how you see me, you understand that I was just a person like anyone else. I probably had my own demons, hidden faults, and self-aimed ire. Really, I wasn't perfect at all. But I did my best. And so that's what you ought to do. He responds honestly. Dad, I don't think... Simone starts to say, before a brilliant light appears ahead of her. What's that? Kinda cliché if it's what I think it is. Ah, the light at the end of the tunnel. Classic, Robert chuckles with a carefree hand wave. I reckon it's either the end or what's after. or something else altogether. Simone bites her cheek as the light seems to be getting closer. I don't want to end here. I knew what I was signing up for going for Chuck, but I'm not ready, Simone admits. I just fucking want a future for my family, and I won't even be there. Yeah. Unfortunately, as we know, that's an all too common thing. Much of the time, we can't decide how our stories end. They just wrap up when it happens, Robert points out. I know, but actually, no. Simone stands up from the bench, staring down at the approaching light. I have a choice right now. Wait right here for whatever that is to come and get me, try to run away in the who-knows-where void, or face that shit head-on. Simone looks back to see Robert dressed in damaged mining gear, though he still holds his big warm smile. Like father, like daughter, Simone shrugs in a you made me this way gesture. Robert nods approvingly. I'd come with you, kiddo, but my story's long ended, he apologizes. Simone shakes her head. Oh, you're coming along with me, because my story is still yours. Just the next chapter, she assures. Tears freely fall from Robert's eyes as he nods again. Write it well for the next chapter, kiddo, he encourages. Love you, Dad, Simone replies, before kicking into a sprint away from the bench and towards the encroaching light. Give him hell, kiddo, Robert's voice calls out, as though already miles away. Simone smirks as the light now becomes bigger and more expansive at a far faster rate, yet somehow, no matter how close it looks, she's still distant from it. Feeling her legs start to tire out, it only fuels her to go even faster. The floor feels as though it starts to stick to the soles of her feet, but she refuses to let that slow her down. Faster, faster and faster, she keeps on advancing. She's nearly fully consumed by the light, yet it still stubbornly exists in a place she can't reach. Suddenly, a Terran hand emerges out of it towards her. Not daring to waste this moment of assistance, she extends her own hand to take it, but again, just out of reach. Feeling the weight of her legs start to be unbearable, she decides to go for it and leap. Lurching forward in a mighty bound, she stretches her arm out to its fullest extent and lets fate decide what happens. Deciding favourably, her hand locks tightly with the other. Then in less time than a blink, she's standing in a void of white. The man's hand she's still holding is not what she expected, if there's anything she could have expected. He's tall, lanky but very fit. He's wearing a flower-patterned beach shirt and swimming trunks. His skin has been lovingly tanned by the sun. His face is handsome, though age is hard to determine. He has long, dark, blonde, wavy hair, and thick, angular eyebrows. The thing that is most out of place about him is that around his neck is an old-fashioned stethoscope that's only seen in ancient movies, and an even more ancient circular metal mirror thingy that cartoons tended to have. No offense, but please don't tell me this is what the creator of all things looks like, Simone utters in disbelief. The man immediately laughs, shuffling in his tacky sandals. Could you imagine, brah? Huh. Never change, She-Hulk. Thanks for the assist there. Might have been real bad otherwise, he says in a very familiar voice. But before Simone can react to that, he taps her forehead pretty hard. Hard enough to send her back into another black void. But this one's different. This one, she can't see anything at all. But she can feel something, and hear something else. She hears gentle, adoringly familiar Callie snores. Her eyes struggle to open, but they do. Immediately, she sees what she is feeling. A weight of a Callie head on her arm. Chuck? Simone tries to say. There is little more than a husk of air. Still, the light sleeper stirs, and her beautiful red eyes open to meet a pair of emeralds.